ARMS has been out for almost 6 months now, and throughout that time, I've probably come up with at least 5 different theories on how the team was going to keep rolling out these updates. But with each new theory I develop, the team just slaps me in the face with new quality content at an unpredictable but still slightly steady pace. Springtron was added to the game as a secret boss towards the end of Grand Prix mode about a month before we got our last new playable character, Misango. And now just 2 weeks after the release of Masango, Springtron has been enabled as a playable character. While the character does share the same default arms and a couple of abilities, as well as just, the general look of the original Spring Man, he does play a lot differently and also has a new, very powerful ability that really makes him stand out from the rest of the roster. Although Springtron's default arms have been in the game from the beginning, I'd like to start in the tradition of my ARMS character guide series and cover the strengths and weaknesses of the 3 arms you'll be forced to start with on Springtron. I haven't covered any of these arms before, so the information will be new for me, or at least the opinions, but if you'd like to skip this part and just focus on Springtron's actual abilities and playstyle, I'll have a timestamp down in the description. The Toaster is a glove-type arm and definitely one of the most reliable and balanced arms in the whole game. Byte's AI friend Bark actually uses this arm, and it's the only pair of arms you'll be able to use in the arm getter mode, so you better get used to it. It's got a medium weight and surface area, so it won't travel quite as quickly as a multi-shot, but it's still one of the best for getting those quick, more precise jabs in. This arm is also one of the easiest to control after extended and allows you to make very precise hits if you're actually paying attention. This arm features a fire attribute which bumps its damage up to 120 when it's charged. That's almost as much as a grab, which can really whittle down your opponent's HP quickly if you get more than 2 shots in succession. I recommend practicing this arm if you're trying to get better at aiming your punches in general, because it's really easy to recognize just how much control you actually have over this arm. If you're struggling with the sort of limited surface area, I would recommend pairing this arm with a multi-shot. This way, you can have more control over your opponent through the multi-shot, then have that precise option for when you know you can get a lot of damage in. Overall, I would say that practicing with these arms will actually make you a better player overall. The Boomerang is another medium weight arm, but functions completely different from the Toaster. These are really the poster child for curve type arms, which travel in a crescent type manner as opposed to the typical straightforward jab. Attached to the boomerangs is the wind attribute, which only increases the base damage by 10, but adds a significant knockback effect. This attribute really shines when you pair it with a long range arm like the dragon or a whip type. This is because the wind attribute doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but can really help keep a good distance between you and your opponent. One of Springtron's main abilities actually benefits from having as much space between you and your opponent as possible, so these are going to be really good for him. I also think the wind attribute comes with one of the best rush attacks in the game. This attack will come out at a pretty good angle and speed, and also send out these big tornadoes, which are considerably harder to dodge than most standard rush attacks. The nice thing about these arms is that no matter which direction you send them out, they'll almost always ricochet back and strike your opponent upon full extension. I'll usually use these punches at a very wide angle, so that it's harder to knock them out with heavier arms, and also just harder to see coming in general. You can aim pretty far off from your opponent and still hit them, so don't be too worried about those super precise jabs that you'll be practicing with something like the Toaster. The last pair of arms here are the Tri-Bolts. These are another kind of poster child type of arms in my opinion, except this time for the multi-shot type. This is the type of multi-shot that comes out as more of a horizontal line as opposed to the triangle shape attack of something like the Retorture or Revolver. This means that these arms have one of the widest attack ranges in the whole game. They also have the stun attribute, which stuns your opponent for approximately 1 second. Because of the wide attack range and the movement debilitating attribute, this is really a perfect pair of arms for anyone just getting into the game. I mean, it even says that in the description. If you have bad aim, use these. A very forgiving range means you'll be getting in quite a few hits, and the stun attribute will slow more experienced opponents down for players who aren't quite used to the fast-paced ebb and flow of the game yet. If you've seen my videos before, you know that I usually pair a wide range, movement debilitating arm with a more precise, big damage type of arm. Pairing the Tri-Bolt and Toaster together is really one of the best examples of this. The tri-bolt can be used more liberally to control your opponent before sending in a more precise jab to get that big damage in. The stun attribute isn't my favorite type of movement debilitating attribute, but it can still be very viable, especially when you pair it with something proper. As I mentioned earlier, Springtron may look a whole lot like Springman, but they really do play as completely different characters. Both characters will move, dash, and jump at about the same speed, but really the only ability they share is their parry. Upon performing a charge dash, Springtron can release the charge button anytime before he's fully charged to parry your opponent's punch. This is sort of difficult to time at first, but once you get into the habit of just charge dashing more than you would on any other character, it is very powerful. I think that I started getting better at these when I stopped deliberately trying to parry every attack with this and just sort of remembered that it's there every time I charge dash. I also had more success when punching directly after the parry is done as well. The game allows you to punch right away, which not only provides a quick attack for your opponent to counter, but also provides one more line of defense. As you might notice, Springtron becomes very vulnerable if he doesn't time that parry exactly right. As many of you know, I am a Ribbon Girl main, so I tend to jump around as much as possible. But with Springman and now Springtron, I really just try to dodge and stay on the ground as much as possible, so I don't waste any chance to parry with my special ability. While Springman also features a passive ability where his arms stay permanently charged when he's below 25% health, Springtron does not carry this ability as well. Instead, he gains a new active ability that sort of takes the parry ability just one step further. When you hold down that charge button for approximately 3 seconds longer than you normally would, Springtron will jump up and release an energy field, disabling any extended arms as well as charging Springtron's arms for more than quadruple the normal duration. When I was trying this out for the first time in party mode, it was against someone who didn't understand how this disable worked, and I found out just how overpowered this is if your opponent doesn't understand what you're doing. It can be very powerful in the right hands, but it can also be very easy to exploit if you just try to spam it. Springtron will become very vulnerable for approximately about a second after releasing that energy field and then falling back to the ground, and it's very easy to pick up on the pattern if you just spam it. The energy field can also disable opponents who are simply just too close to you, but this is very hard to time correctly considering the almost 4 to 5 second cast time of this ability, so try to use it in close proximity only in favorable situations. I found the most success with this ability at long range against slow moving arms. Some arms can take almost 2 seconds to reach you, so fighting against these at a safe distance can really allow you to get a lot of disables in against an opponent who doesn't adapt to the fight properly. Another tip for landing these at long range is to try to be unpredictable with when you start charging. Some people may not register that you can actually start charging mid-air and then they will mistake your charge for just a regular jump. At long range, I actually do recommend jumping around quite a bit, just to stay unpredictable and increase the chance of your opponent trying to catch you when you're down, and therefore catching their extended arms in your energy field. Of course, the really nice thing about this long cast time charge mechanic is that you can still release that charge button at any time to perform that parry. This means that it can still be safe to try to pull off that disable at close range, as long as you're paying attention to your opponent's punches and making sure that if your opponent tries to stop that disable too early, you're ready to release the button. Adding these two abilities together makes for a really high skill cap on this fighter, and a good Springtron player is going to have to time his parries and disables perfectly. This will really make the difference between a novice and a pro, and I recommend practicing the timing of these abilities in close range over and over to really utilize these abilities at their full potential. Now, I was admittedly a little worried when I first saw this announcement on the playable Springtron. I was happy to see a new character on the roster, of course, but concerned that it might just be a reskin with the same abilities and a different name. But no, this is actually a really interesting character. They took his seemingly overpowered ability from Grand Prix and turned it into something really interesting and skill-based, combining it with an already used ability to create a whole different type of play that'll take lots of practice, of course, but it's still very viable and competitive. I'm still not too thrilled with the lack of single player experience in this game, but the ARMS team has done a really fantastic job in keeping their core metagame interesting in these first 6 months. I want to tell you that this is the last character you're going to get this year, but I mean, I just said that about Misango, and here we are. So I guess all I'll say is thank you to the ARMS team for doing a great job with this free post-release content. You're still not doing as good of a job as the Splatoon team is, but This post-release content cycle has definitely been one of the best of the year overall in gaming. Please let me know your thoughts on Springtron in the comments below, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe to my channel for the latest Switch content available. This is Max from Max Culture, and thank you so much for watching.